Thanks for joining our 8 News Now Investigators program. I'm Vanessa Murphy, investigative reporter at KLAS TV in Las Vegas.
I'm David Charns, also an investigative reporter here at 8 News Now, or what we call here in Las Vegas, Channel 8. Today we are talking about the case of 2 teenagers who went on a deadly crime spree that got a lot of attention when this happened and is getting a lot of attention now.
Yeah, we've both been covering this for a while, and one of the things that really helped make the international headlines was the video at the center of this case. Let's do a quick recap.
Ready? Yeah.
2 teenagers appear giddy after police say they intentionally hit and killed 64-year-old Andy Probst early in the morning on August 14th near Centennial in Tenaya.
Jesus Ayala.
Now Jesus Ayala, the accused driver, 17 at the time of this alleged crime spree.
Court does find probable cause.
And 16-year-old Jameer Keys, the accused passenger, face charges in the adult system, including murder.
They really don't care if anyone else lives or dies. They don't care about themselves if they live or die. And that can just be shown through their own actions.
Is this a clear-cut case since you have video?
A picture tells 1,000 words.
You know, one decision we made as we showed our viewers this case was to pause the video of both of these men being hit. Obviously, one of them died, but it was difficult to look at. We want to show our viewers what happened, and as much as we can, we also want to be respectful to the loved ones.
Those discussions are always happening. I think that just to go back a bit, and then we'll show you how investigators, and then we kind of told that storytelling was that this was in August of 2023. What happens here in the Las Vegas area, if there is a traffic crash or someone gets hurt or someone dies in one of these crashes, is most of the police departments, certainly the largest one here, Metro Police, will send out a news release. This was their jurisdiction. So correct me if I'm wrong, but this came in as a hit and run, and they were actually looking for the driver. And then I remember a couple days later, the video was online because we were at an event for broadcasters, and our general manager was showing it to me on Twitter. And the video is terrible because obviously the video online doesn't stop. And that's when you and I kind of were asking around, trying to find out more. And it ended up that they had caught someone, but then it became even more difficult with this story because of their ages.
Right. And interesting to point out here that they recorded the video themselves. They took turns as passenger and driver, I believe. They recorded this video themselves, and it sort of got passed around school. And a student is the one who came forward and said, oh my gosh, and reported this. Right. And that is how the police began piecing this together. Right. It was part of a larger crime spree. So they sort of got themselves in trouble.
Right. And we're gonna play a story in a couple minutes here that talks more about that crime spree, but just kind of the nuggets there is it's October 2023. You have these 2 kids, 16 and 17 at the time, riding around in stolen cars, trying to hit people with the car. They ended up hitting this gentleman, a 64-year-old former police chief from California who lives here, who was riding his bike like many people do on a weekend morning, and he gets hit and killed. It was absolutely terrible, and you were able to cover some of this because you're really well versed in the juvenile system, because we didn't know a lot about them at first.
Right. So we got wind that at least Jesus Ayala would be in juvenile court. It's not exactly easy getting into a juvenile courtroom because the judicial system wants to protect juveniles who may be committing crimes. And when I say protect, I'm talking about their privacy. But we were able to get inside the courtroom for Jesus Ayala. We learned he had somewhat of a history. His mother was there. I tried to talk to her. She didn't want to talk to me, but she looked shocked.
Yeah.
And, you know, I sort of ran after her to talk to her, which
That's okay.
you don't feel good doing that, but you want to get answers of
Well, sometimes
how does this happen?
Right. And sometimes I always say, you know, that they don't necessarily realize that that's going to be their one opportunity. So you really want to give it to them.
Yeah. So we were in juvenile court again. We saw a little bit of what was going to unfold because of the seriousness, and we're talking about an alleged murder at the time. We knew that prosecutors would want to move this to the adult system. That takes a process, a certification process. They have to go in front of the juvenile judge and say, this should be certified. However, there are certain rules where something like murder is automatically certified, David.
Right. So what made this case even more difficult is you're talking about two teenagers, Jesus Ayala, who was 17 at the time, and Jameer Keys, who was 16 at the time. Because of their ages, those cases don't just pop up in adult court. So obviously Vanessa
still
was
is
tracking them
process.
down there. And then when we did get all this information about what happened, we were kind of piecing together different police reports, different grand jury transcripts, different court documents, because what the gravity of what we did, and we can say they did it because they took a plea deal, was pretty outstanding with the amount of crime that happened in a very short period of time.
Right. And you pieced that together. You put together a report with a timeline. Let's take a look.
Ready? Yeah.
Two teenagers appear giddy after police say they intentionally hit and killed 64-year-old Andy Probst early in the morning on August 14th near Centennial in Tenaya. By this point, according to police, the duo had already attempted to kill another person on a bike near Fort Apache and Washburn. The 8 News Now investigators learning shortly after the murder, the pair ditched the stolen car that became their weapon. Sources say officers later found that car here near Craig and Jones, about 10 minutes down the road. It had blood on the windshield, and it was stolen the night before. Sources telling the 8 News Now investigators the teenagers are then accused of stealing 2 more cars in the hours after hitting Probst. The 2 cars reported missing near Lake Mead and Torrey Pines. About an hour later, those teenagers allegedly took those 2 stolen cars and crashed them into each other near this shopping plaza. The parking lot just down the road near Lake Mead and Rainbow. Sources say the teenagers then broke into a garage, crashing a stolen car back near the area where they were accused of crashing into Probst. Officers managed to take 18-year-old Jesus Ayala into custody, but the other teenager, 16-year-old Jameer Keys, the one accused of recording the video, got away. So that was just a little bit of what happened that day, and at that point, that was what police and prosecutors were saying. And we did get some more evidence about one of those teenagers and learning more about his past, and we're going to talk about that right after this quick break. Welcome back to our 8 News Now Investigators show. I'm David Charns alongside Vanessa Murphy, investigative reporters here at KLAS in Las Vegas. We're talking about the intentional hit and run of a former police chief by 2 teenagers that have now taken plea deals. This was a case that really shocked a lot of people. It was online. It kind of went viral because of some piece of video. And Vanessa, we're talking now about how you got some more video that was even more shocking in this case.
Yeah, this was from when Jesus Ayala was taken into custody. He made some brazen comments. He clearly did not understand the seriousness of the allegations, the time he could be facing. He had been sort of in and out of that juvenile system already. And, you know, when you compare the juvenile system to the adult system, you might call it a slap on the wrist. In some cases, he certainly expected a slap on the wrist. Take a look.
You think this juvenile Gonna do something, I'll be out in like 30 days. Watch.
This is Jesus Ayala speaking from the back of a Las Vegas Metro police car after he's taken into custody on August 14th. Metro police say he and Jameer Keys had just committed a deadly crime spree. Ayala, 17 at the time, with a history in the juvenile system. Keys, 16 years old.
I'm not scared.
You are 100%.
A grand jury indicting the teens for charges including murder in the adult system.
Boom, 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 boom,
The
boom,
first
boom.
hit and run around 5 in the morning.
Drive off.
Police say Keys is the driver. The 72-year-old cyclist survived and testified in front of the grand jury he's left with a leg injury. These are photos of his mangled bicycle. He said he didn't know they were going to hit him or whether they were going to ask for directions, and, quote, then I remember rolling, end quote.
How you go?
And in the video, which previously went viral, a second hit and run with another car on the road, and the third, where police say Ayala is the driver and Keys is the passenger. 64-year-old Andy Probst appears to be intentionally hit. The retired California police chief did not survive. These are photos showing his destroyed bicycle and the stolen car police say the teens hit him with. They're accused of stealing 3 Hyundais. Police say these are the tools they used. And then, after crashing one of them, prosecutors say this video shows them running. Keys in the red ski mask. He was taken into custody 36 days later, and Ayala seen here.
They already found the person who did it.
Yeah. I got him in my car.
Don't keep blaming me.
I got him in my car.
I don't even know what you're talking about, sir.
It's all right. We got so much video surveillance, dude.
The death of Probst initially ruled an accident until detectives later learned about these videos they say Keys shared on Instagram. This turned into a murder case.
You think I'm going to come out in the news?
Huh?
You think I'm going to come out on the news?
You might.
Nah, I'm not even playing out for real.
It won't be for anything good.
Huh?
I said it won't be for anything good. It won't make your mama proud.
So obviously he's more concerned about will he be on the news. He was, and he's also going to go to prison now. And I think I do want to revisit, David, when these things happen, we look into how did this happen? What drove these teens to do this? And again, Jesus Ayala had a history. Jameer Keys, I found some family court records. As a child, he certainly faced some tough times, allegations of neglect in his household. Some people might say, well, are you sympathizing with them? We just want to know how they got there. And also that becomes part of the defense's argument of they were kids when they committed these crimes. Their brains aren't fully developed. They may not have had the same opportunities that other kids might have. So we try to look at that entire picture.
Yeah, and you know, we give them a fair shot. I'll say that. I think what's so shocking, and honestly, I hadn't seen that story since I haven't obviously watched that story since you did it 2 years ago, is they don't care, right? I mean, we're watching them hit one car, we're watching them hit him, we're watching them just do things, and it's really hard as human beings to watch that. And I think what goes through our mind when you're watching him, and I forget exactly the quote he says to the cop in the beginning, but it's like, oh, I'll do 30 days or something. You know, he has just no regard for anything, right? How he got to that point, I think, is what you were just mentioning earlier, which we may never know the answer to. You obviously asked to talk to them several times and didn't, and all you have is their public defender to go through. And you're right, they are kids, and kids make stupid mistakes, but most kids don't kill other people.
Right.
And I think that what really shocked me about this whole thing is how that could be any one of us. I mean, that person was, I don't know, driving to work in that car. There were 2 bikers who were just exercising in the morning. You know, It's just crazy. And, you know, I do want to say that one of the reasons why this went viral is because that video came out, and a couple days earlier, police had called it an accident, right?
Yeah.
And how, police only know what they know when they know it.
Right.
And the internet kind of beat them before they re-upped
Showing
their...
it was
showing it was
intentional.
intentional, right? I mean, I'm sure police kind of knew that at the time, but the video that became such a big part of this whole case, you had mentioned a couple minutes ago, was shared at school.
Yes.
And then some kid was like, well, wait a minute, these kids are... And that's how they got them. I mean, not only was there a digital footprint, but they're on all these other security videos, and that officer's like, dude, he's in my car. I don't know what to tell you.
Right.
And they really didn't care. When you were in court that day, they were giving the camera the finger. They didn't care. And I think they probably care now.
They sure do. Let's take a look. Let's revisit when they were in court.
They're just kind of trying to mad dog us and intimidate us, which didn't work.
Jesus Ayala and Jameer Keys smiling at the widow and daughter of Andy Probst as they leave the courtroom Tuesday. The teens are accused of intentionally hitting the 64-year-old retired California police chief.
Boom, 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 boom.
They're charged with murder and additional felonies in connection with an August 14th crime spree. Police say they also hit this 72-year-old cyclist that morning. He survived. A trial now scheduled for September of next year.
These guys, they did not respect the court whatsoever.
The teens appear to communicate with each other, at times covering their faces and also laughing.
I'm not scared.
You are 100%.
On Monday, we obtained police body camera video showing the moment after Ayala was taken into custody.
You think this juvenile gonna do something? I'll be out in like 30 days. What?
It's just a game to them. Like, they really don't care if anyone else lives or dies. They don't care about themselves if they live or die. And that can just be shown through their own actions.
Who do you think failed here leading up to this?
A multitude of different people failed, but I think ultimately the parents on all ends, they're the ones who failed.
Taylor and Crystal Probst say they'll continue to come to court for the teens' appearances to seek justice and to put a face on the victim of the teens' alleged crime. Crystal wears this Apple Watch her husband was wearing when he was killed. Taylor and her brother received an alert on that fateful day.
It reminds me he's here with me in the courthouse, to fight for him.
When I see the watch, I get chills.
Terrible, yeah. Well, the watch, we requested the 911 calls, and the watch was the first one to call 911. So we all wear our Apple Watches, and they have the crash detection, and it's so scary. Yeah. But that crash that we saw was the other bicyclist, yes.
The man riding his bike who survived. Injured, but survived.
But just their behavior, I mean, I don't know why no one said, I mean, maybe that was the first one, but, a lot of those judges, and a lot of these cases end in deals, right? But a lot of these judges, while that building, as you and I both know, because we're there a lot, the Regional Justice Center is a factory of cases. Those judges will remember how defendants act in court.
Oh, yeah.
And if this had gone to trial or something, I mean, there's an issue because they're juveniles and there's only a maximum they can get, but I'm sure the judge would have given the maximum anyway because of their behavior. It's honestly just disgusting. I don't really know what else to say.
Let's take a quick break. Welcome back to our Investigators program. I'm Vanessa Murphy, joined by David Charns. We are talking about a deadly crime spree at the hands of two teens. A retired police chief was killed. Now, these teens, both of them took plea deals. The case is in the adult system right now. One of the questions I've received, the deals point to around 20 to life, David, is how could they get out after 20, right? But that's the max they can get because of their ages in the state of Nevada.
So the state of Nevada has a law that was a couple different laws affect this, but if you commit a really heinous crime as a juvenile, including murder, which is the worst that you can do, the maximum you can get is 20 to life. And that basically means when you hit your 20 mark, which is 20 years from the day you were taken into custody, so the day your criminal proceedings begin, you are eligible for parole. And then it's up to the parole board. And honestly, the parole board will likely let you go because you were a child, and as we've talked about,
If
brain
you stay out
development
of
and things like
trouble
that,
in
if you stay
prison.
out of trouble. So it's very likely that these two now young men who are 19 and 17 will be able to have a life when they're in their late 30s, because that's what the law says. And then there's a whole question that, you can debate at home about should they ever get out.
I do want to acknowledge Crystal Probst, Andy Probst's wife, and his daughter. They have been willing to speak with us in court. I do reach out to Crystal regularly. These plea deals just happened. We are recording this in October of 2025. The teens still have to be officially sentenced,
December.
but Crystal was not ready to comment yet, but she has been
Yeah.
kind. She has been willing to speak with us previously. And can you imagine you want to retire with your husband or wife, you're out for a bike ride, and this horrible tragedy occurs. It's just unimaginable.
And I think every time that we do one of these stories, we are thinking about them and
Right.
Andy Probst and what happened and trying to spotlight justice on this. And while a lot of these stories have focused on the bad, I think that there could be good because we are showing this is what the law says, and maybe someone will say that doesn't agree with that sentence, and maybe there will be change, and I don't know what that looks like, but it's just a terrible thing that happened and should never have happened.
And of course, we have reached out to Ayala and Keys to see if they would do interviews with us in jail. Keys recently agreed and then changed his mind once we were there with the camera. But we will bring you the latest with their sentencing on 8newsnow.com. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for being here.